Welcome back, Rankers. A couple of big announcements from Google this week. One was out of Google Australia. Google Shopping has arrived in google.com.au. So when you go to google.com.au now, you will notice you now have a shopping tag, which if you are in the e-tailing business, if you're selling electronic goods especially, or anything really with model numbers, then I would suggest strongly you should be submitting your catalogue to Google Shopping. Go and have a read of the blog post there. I won't tell you too much about it now. I did do a video about 2 years ago about Google Shopping. If you type Google Product Search, that's what it used to be called, into YouTube, you'll find that video. And some of the things that Google won't be telling you at the moment about Google Product Search is the sorts of things you should be thinking about when it comes to your keywords and making sure that you are labeling your products and other descriptions of those products correctly, so you're going to come up for the right searches when people go to Google Shopping. If you are using Google Shopping, I'd love to know. I've never used it before. I've played with it, but I've always gone off elsewhere. So if you're someone that's used it, please let us know. Or if you're a retailer that's used it, please let us know. The other big announcement that came out of Google this week was more guidance on building high-quality sites. And if you've been watching the show for the last 5 years, then you'll probably recognise a lot of those sorts of things. Nothing really that groundbreaking, except everything that Matt Cutts always says as well, which is create nice sites, create nice content, and don't be a dickhead. That's about it. So they're the two big announcements. Today I wanted to have a look at Renee LeMay's site, Delimiter. A lot of you will know Renee, an excellent IT journalist who is the editor-in-chief and co-founder, or founder, I'm not sure, of the website Delimiter, which is an excellent technology news site. He just mused yesterday on Twitter that Google isn't treating him as nicely as it used to. Something's going on. So I thought we'd just go through and have a look at the site, have a bit of a poke around in the index, and see if we can see some things that may help you with your own site and checking things, and also, help Renee. The first thing you've got to do, of course, is always go to the Google index and find out what Google knows about you. Now, as we know, that's site:"yoursite.com", not yoursite.com, but your web, not your web address. In this case, I'm putting delimiter.com.au, which is Renee's web address. I get people confused over that all the time. Okay, there's 5,600 results in the Google index. Now, if that's accurate, as far as Renee's concerned, then great. The only thing that sort of concerns me a little bit here is the pages that we've got up the top in this search are about us, contact, things that aren't necessarily key to the site. That, if we have a look at the Google case date on those, we can see that Google's going back to the About Us as recently as last week. You really probably don't need Google to be doing that. So that says something that number one, it's listed it up high in the Google index when you do the search for the domain name, and also that it's going back regularly. You probably want to demote that in the linking structure on the site. But as I've said before, that's the least of your problems. Don't worry about that one just yet. We've got other things to show you. The next thing you've got to go and do is really just go and have a look at the code on the front page. What is the code telling us? And in this case, it's actually telling us some interesting things. Now, good to see that this is on delimiter.com.au is on a WordPress site. That's great. I love WordPress. As you know, it's just fantastic for SEO. The problem that we have here, number one, is firstly that we've got the page title way down here in the header tag. It should be the first thing that Google sees, because what Google's always trying to do is catalog a page, work out what it's about. So the first thing that it goes looking for is the page title. When you demote it down here, you're saying it's not that important. The next thing that sort of just jumps right out at you, and I've seen this happen before, is we're using all-in-one SEO pack, which is great. I use it, or actually try Yoast, which is also an excellent SEO plugin. But what we've got here, we've got description and keywords meta tag under this all-in-one SEO pack, and we've also got keywords and description up here in the header tag. So you really shouldn't have this information this low on the page. It could be that it's a symptom of you using more than one SEO. It could be the way the template's set up, the way this this plugin is being called to be rendered on this page. But basically, that is a no-no. You've got 2 description tags and 2 keyword tags on every page of the site. But that, as you know, is the least of your problems. So there's other things to show you, but fix that. I have seen that happen before. And that's going to set up an alarm to Google to say, this page is noisy, I don't understand it. And having said that, though, I mean, you are ranking well. If we go and have a look for, say, any page title here, or sorry, any article title, you know, you are number 1 for most of those article titles. Right? And you're getting, it's under the news. So presumably you are using actual news feeds and news sitemaps like Google recommends, because you are turning up for those searches, which is great. However, the main issue that you have that I'm seeing is that if we take a chunk of text off your site, let's just say this first sentence here, and we stick that in the search box, and we surround it with quotation marks, so we're getting an exact match for that search. Let's speed things up a bit here. And we do a search on that. You're not coming up. So that title that I've just searched for, you're coming up in Twitter. But if I go and, so let me do that first sentence again. Or for the first time, because I stuffed it up. Okay, so I've taken the first sentence off that article. We can see that the only, for some reason, the only exact match we had for that title was on Twitter. We can also see here that that first sentence, your site isn't appearing. So a lot of the syndication sites are. So presumably Technology Spectator is syndicating your content, AU Plurk, IT Wire, 2 instances of IT Wire, which is interesting. 3 instances, in fact. But you're not there. Now that, and even a German site, now that is a problem. Because you're using WordPress, you should be making sure that you have, and ask your web dev this, make sure you have your RPC ping set up properly so that every time an article gets published, you're pinging all the engines. But the fact that you rank for, say, I did this one earlier, budget, internet filter, 2011. And in case you haven't heard, we had the federal budget release last night, which was boring. But one of the things that did happen is a lot of the internet filter grants were cancelled. Now, I've typed in budget internet filter 2011. You're coming up for that, but you're not coming up for an exact match of your text, because Google's saying an exact match for that text you're not authoritative for. So there is an issue there. It could be that you just need to fix up those things like your duplicate tags within your pages, and Google will not be that concerned. But when you actually even have a look at that page of code, and you see here you've got where are we? All-in-one SEO. You can see here that you've got, this is the description tag for that article about the filter in the budget. That actually isn't coming up in the snippet in Google results. So Google's not paying any attention to that, and it's making up its own. Could be other things going on inside the site with certain plugins that I can't see, but from outside looking in, that's what we're seeing. The other thing you might want to have a look at is page speed. You can see here we've got 3 Fs on webpagetest.org, and the ones I'd really only be concerning yourself with is probably, you need to compress the images on the fly, you need to be caching static content, and combining some of the Java and CSS. But with WordPress install, that can be pretty fiddly. So probably just these 2. you'd want to have a look at. But the thing here is, as you can see here, we don't get that first byte downloaded until 2.5 seconds in, and it's saying for the document to complete loading, it's taking 12 seconds, which is pretty slow. One of the things you can do, because you are using WordPress, is go and have a look at the W3 Total Cache plugin for WordPress, and that will help with some of these cache issues that you might be having depending on who your host is. But there's one more problem. I did note that you said you had a new hosting provider, so I thought, well, let's go and have a look at the hosting setup. And basically what we did, I say we, but it was me, pinged your site, got your IP address, then went and had a look and said, okay, well, of that IP address, how many other sites are on that IP address? When we stuck it into domain tools, there's 162 other domains hosted on that same IP address. So basically you're sitting on an underpowered server. And because you're publishing all the time, then you are telling Google that come back and see my site all the time, come back and see the bot. But Google's also got to think of the other 160 odd sites on that IP address that it also has to visit, and it means that you really need a dedicated IP for that. So I'd speak to your hosting provider about that. You know, if we have a look at, say, itnews.com.au, they've only got 29 domains on that. So right up there, in fact, I'd say that would be too many as well for IT News. But because it's such a busy site and it publishes all the time, you really want to be just on your own IP address. So it just makes it easier for Google to get that content. Also had a quick look at the backlinks to see if you had a whole lot of backlink drop off or something like that. So we went and had a look at your backlink history. You've got lots of backlinks, as you know, because people just love your content. And what we're seeing here is there seems to have been a drop-off since about mid-April in the backlinks that you are getting based on the data that we're seeing. That may or may not be true. And I'm talking about the growth of backlinks. So it could be that Google's just not picking them up, or maybe you have changed the way that content's been syndicated, or maybe people that used to link to your content you used to have a deal with, maybe that's not happening anymore. Anyway, there is a slight drop-off. But I think really the main issues are the sitting on an underpowered server, and also the actual duplicate tags and the title tag being lower in the page than what they should be. So in order of importance, I'd fix up the code on the page first. Get the title tag at the top of the page, the top of the header section. Get rid of the duplicate description and keyword meta tags. That would be the first thing I'd do. Then I'd have a look at fixing the speed of the site, because these are all things that are directly within your control. And to do that, then go and have a look at that W3 Cache plugin. Get on a dedicated IP. Once you've done all that, then start to have a look and do that every time you publish. Go and grab the first 15 words of text on an article, put it in quotation marks, Google it, make sure that you're coming up number one. Because it looks like the publishing schedule that you have got, for some reason, Google's saying, well, IT News is more important for this content than you are. Hopefully that's helpful, and we'll see you next week. Thanks very much. Bye.